The Trump administration is willing to ride out the shutdown. A young Republicans group chat leaked. Edgelord memeing or serious racism. And Democrats and Republicans are both gerrymandering. I knew I shouldn't have wished on that monkey's paw for both sides to finally agree on something. Then more on this week's America Uncovered headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. First, I just want to say thank you all for leaving an American flag emoji in the comments. It's been a huge help with engagement and YouTube's algorithm, which is like that boss nobody likes but is too afraid to say anything bad about because they may be listening. In an update to the episode I did covering the government shutdown, the government is still shut down. I don't know. Want to play gin rummy or something? But even though the government is shut down, that doesn't mean there isn't a lot going on, because God forbid I have a week off. The news never stops. Neither can I. Despite the shutdown, the Trump administration paid all active duty troops on October 15th, and has been looking for ways to pay federal law enforcement officers. And thank goodness, because ICE agents have had to deal with the worst humanity has to offer. And no, I'm not talking about illegal immigrants. I'm talking about Portland protesting them with naked cyclists. War is hell, and this is somehow worse. Trump was able to pay the troops by redirecting unspent Department of Defense funds. Chuck Schumer could challenge this, but fighting to make sure the military doesn't get paid is a worse look than, well, whatever Schumer is doing in that photo. It looks like he's taking boxing lessons from Glass Joe. But frankly, I'm shocked isn't a nickname Trump gave to Biden. We are now in the third week of the shutdown, and neither side is budging. The White House Budget Office says it's prepared to ride out the shutdown. And as I talked about in my video covering it, Trump seems to be loving this. It's giving him unprecedented opportunities to reshape the government as he sees fit, laying off federal workers en masse, although it's unclear if the firings will stick. Last week, RFK Jr. fired over 1,300 CDC employees in what was called a Friday night massacre and the end of the CDC. But then a few days later, over half of them were reinstated, having been sent firing notifications apparently by mistake. So if something in these crazy, unprecedented times is stressing you out, remember, just give it a day or two and it could wind up being just a big whoopsie daisy. And keep that in mind for this next thing. Trump announced he'd be shutting down what he called the most egregious socialist, semi-communist democratic programs, and said some of them may never come back. Will this make Democrats give in? If not, then this shutdown is going to be a longer, uglier ride than the naked bicyclists in Portland. Speaking of rides you don't want to be a part of, Venezuelan boats. Trump announced yet another strike on a Venezuelan boat he claimed was used to traffic narcotics, killing 6 aboard. This is the 5th time this has happened, and like with all the other times, Trump claimed intelligence showed the boat was trafficking drugs. And here's that intelligence he shared with the public. Yeah, a lot of Congress isn't too keen on the president bombing boats under the presidential power of "trust me, bro." But not enough of Congress has issues with this because the Senate voted down a war powers resolution that would have blocked Trump's strikes on these alleged drug boats. So for now, if Hollywood's thinking of making another Pirates of the Caribbean movie, they may want to shoot it somewhere other than the Caribbean. Otherwise, they'll have to hold up a giant banner reading, "Please, for the love of God, don't shoot us. We're not actual pirates." Though, Trump might see that and think, exactly what a pirate would say. Boom. Meta removed Facebook pages allegedly used to dox and harass ICE agents after pressure from the Department of Justice. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the DOJ will continue engaging tech companies to eliminate pages where radicals can incite violence against federal authorities. The Trump administration is pressuring social media to censor content after the conniption fit they had over the Biden administration pressuring Facebook to remove COVID content they didn't like. That's it, boys. We've got ourselves a good old-fashioned hypocrite alert. There's just one teensy tiny problem with that line. These are two very different circumstances. During COVID, people spoke out against government policies they didn't like, which is protected under the First Amendment. However, these Facebook pages were actually doxing ICE agents. Speaking of things you probably shouldn't say, J.D. Vance on the leaked Young Republicans texts. Welcome back. Politico revealed thousands of leaked messages from leaders of Young Republicans group chats, exposing several racist, misogynistic, and anti-Semitic remarks and jokes. I'd go into the details, but I don't want to get double demonetized. Suffice it to say, they're not great. Now, some conservatives, like Matt Walsh, are calling this Politico article a hit piece. They say the texts were taken out of context, and statements like, "I love Hitler," are sarcastic and mocking the left, calling conservatives fascist. The majority of the Republican Party has denounced these texts, with several of the Young Republican leaders being fired and the board of directors for the Young Republicans calling for resignations. However, Vice President J.D. Vance felt a bit differently.
The reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes, like that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives.
Now might be a good time to note that 8 of the 11 members of the group chat were between the ages of 24 to 35. Vance is only 41, so these kids are more like his peers, because we're all young at heart. Now, some have accused Vance of being hypocritical given his remarks about people mocking Charlie Kirk's death a month ago.
So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer.
Of course, there is a difference between making what might be offensive, edgy jokes in a private leaked chat versus openly mocking someone's death and calling for more. This might be a sign of troubling racism and fascism, but it's also easy to take things out of context. Case in point, Elon Musk speaking at a rally and saying, "My heart goes out to you," and all anyone sees is this. Here's another example. Breaking news, America uncovered Chris Chappell was caught on camera saying this: "I love Hitler." I hope that joke doesn't come back to bite me. OpenAI boss Sam Altman says ChatGPT will soon allow erotica for verified adults. Wow. You know, Her was supposed to be a cautionary tale, not an idea to spin off into a real-life porn parody. Between this and the Grok chatbot Annie, and yes, it's spelled A-N-I, as in the Latin plural for anus, I think humanity might be over. I'd hope that people would be hesitant to give their information to get verified, because this is for sure going to lead to data leaks. Although with this kind of stuff, those aren't the worst kinds of leaks I'm worried about. Hey, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my California fans, who I know have been inundated lately with commercials telling them what to think about Prop 50.
Yes on 50.
Vote no on Prop 50.
Yes on 50.
Vote no on Prop 50.
Yes on 50.
Vote no on 50.
I'm like, what do you say f me for?
Yeah, different 50 they're saying no to. 50, you're cool. Prop 50 is a measure that would temporarily change California congressional district maps through 2030, which is asking voters to put a lot of faith in politicians sticking to that temporarily. I'm sure it's fine. As history has shown, whenever you give leaders more power, they're always super cool with handing it right back. Voting districts are traditionally redrawn every 10 years after new census data comes out. California's voting districts are drawn by an independent commission. Other states use this method, while most states draw their districts through the legislature. The thing is, Texas is currently redrawing their district maps, and they're doing it mid-decade. Not in response to a recent census, which is not illegal, but it is unusual. And they're doing it after Donald Trump said this back in July.
Texas would be the biggest one, and so that'll be fine.
Are you calling then for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
So, yeah. Prop 50 is the antidote to that, intended to boost Democrat congressional seats in California by 5 by suspending the independent commission and redrawing the districts. Republicans in the Vote No on Prop 50 commercials are framing this as a Democrat power grab. Meanwhile, Democrats are framing this as a way to fight authoritarianism, and they're bringing out the big guns, metaphorically, since Democrats typically aren't the biggest fans of guns.
Democracy is on the ballot November 4th.
Republicans want to steal enough seats in Congress to rig the next election and wield unchecked power for 2 more years. With Prop 50, you can stop Republicans in their tracks.
Yes, stop their gerrymandering with gerrymandering. It's like how ghost and dragon type Pokemon are weak to themselves, yet still the best option to use in battle. But an equally big gun came out against Prop 50, the Governator, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
With this Proposition 50 is against democracy. So this is why I'm against that. Politicians want to take the power away from the people here in California, and they want to take it back so they have the power. And that is the worst thing. Like I said to you earlier, the Constitution does not start with the politicians, it starts with we the people.
It makes sense Arnold feels this way. While governor of California, he pushed for the independent commission to draw voting districts, and he's been a vocal opponent of partisan gerrymandering nationwide for years. Of course, many Democrats feel that since he's a Republican and opposing a measure that's sole intention is to fight Donald Trump, that Arnie must be a rabid Trump loyalist. But wait, is that true?
President Trump, I just saw your press conference with President Putin, and it was embarrassing. I mean, you stood there like a little wet noodle, like a little fanboy.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a Trump loyalist. The Governator has been pretty consistently against rigged votes, except of course the judges picking him as the winner of the 1980 Mr. Olympia when it should have clearly gone to Mike Mentzer. Texas and California aren't the only states proposing new districts. Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, and Washington are blue states considering redrawing their districts to combat red states like Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, and Missouri considering redrawing theirs. And this list is ever changing. This is the most talked about color in a political discussion that doesn't involve a Black Lives Matter protest. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court heard arguments over Louisiana's redistricting dispute. Republicans in Louisiana redrew voting districts and were challenged on the grounds it violated the Voting Rights Act, which prohibits racial discrimination in voting. The Louisiana GOP is urging the Supreme Court to bar race being used as a consideration when redrawing districts. Should the Supreme Court side with them, this could potentially dismantle the Voting Rights Act and create a wave of even more districts being redrawn, which could create a reactionary wave of others being redrawn to combat them, and so on and so forth. Should this all come to pass, Republicans will have even less say in blue states, Democrats will have even less say in red states, and parties could be locked out of power on state and national levels for decades. Depending on how this goes, the situation could get even uglier than the naked cyclists in Portland. But what do you think? Leave your comments below with that American flag emoji. And before you go, check out this video chosen by the algorithm. Because if everything's going to steal your data, the least they can do is show you something that'll make you say neat. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.